Welcome to part 3 of Let's Play Appointment with F.E.A.R by Steve Jackson. At the end of the last part, I was on paragraph 327. Let's reread this as a reminder. Okay, next morning you leave for work early. You are sorely tempted to leave your crime watch behind. You dare not miss another day's work. But your fears are unwarranted. To your utter amazement, your crime watch is silent. You arrive at work early. Jonah White cannot believe his eyes when he enters the office to find you hard at work at your desk. At lunchtime, you catch up on the day's news on the teletext TV. 2 stories catch your attention. One is of a strange attack in Audubon Park. A woman has been seriously mauled by what she calls a monster, but a specialist at the hospital thinks the claw marks of an animal of some kind. Now, the second story is of a man who had his chest crushed in the grounds of the Natural History Museum. There are no clues as to who or what was responsible. It is as if whatever caused the man's death simply walked away. Both incidents are being investigated by the police. You decide to do a little investigation of your own. You change into the Silver Crusader and set off to make your inquiries. Where will you head first? The Natural History Museum, turn to 365. Titan Zoo, turn to 408. Or Warnham and Whaley's Travelling Circus, turn to 4. Okay, we're going to go to Titan Zoo and go to 408. When you arrive at the zoo gates, you question the attendant, asking whether there have been any reports of animals escaping from their cages over the last couple of days. The attendant is obviously excited to see you. "Gosh, hi Crusader," he stammers. Yes, I did hear something about an escape, but I don't know any more about it. You'll have to ask the director. I'll take you to him if you like." You tell him to lead the way, but as you turn to follow him, a beep 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 comes from your wrist. You hold the crime watch up to your ear. "Museum of Egyptian Heritage," it speaks. Do you want to follow its advice and head straight away for the museum, turn to 158, or will you ignore this message and instead follow the attendant, turn to 26? Okay, we are going to follow its advice and turn to 158. The Museum of Egyptian Heritage is in the Midtown area. Everything seems perfectly normal when you enter and you make for the head curator's office. Dr. Kabla is an elderly professor type with white hair and a thick white moustache that hangs over his mouth. He is surprised to see you, but assures you that, as far as he knows, everything is in order. He offers to double-check all his treasures to make sure nothing has disappeared. Do you wish him to do this, turn to 416, or will you ask him to get someone to show you around? Okay, and turn to 135. Okay, we're going to ask him to get someone to show us round and turn to 135. 2 doormen are outside the curator's room. Abdulaziz and Mustafa Kareem. Would one of you take our honoured guest on a tour of the exhibits? They both stand to attention. Abdul, perhaps you would be so kind? The man bows slightly and begins to escort you round the museum. There are many fine treasures in the building, and Abdulaziz gives you an interesting commentary on the life and times of the pharaohs. The exhibits seem to be all intact. Finally, you reach the largest room, which houses the exhibition's main attraction, to the 240. Okay, now, at the mention of Mustafa Kareem, you might be reminded of our adventure sheet. Okay, because when I encounter Mustafa Kareem, I have to double the paragraph reference and turn to that number. So I'm now going to double 135 to get 270 and then turn to 270. Okay, 270. Here we go. Okay, at the mention of his name, your eyes fall on Mustafa Kareem. He holds your gaze and breaks away nervously. You grab his shoulder and ask him to answer a few questions. To the great surprise of the curator, Kareem breaks free and rushes off downstairs into the vaults of the museum, with you hot in pursuit. You catch up with him in a dimly lit room in which several wooden crates stand. Kareem is cornered, but as you advance, a wicked smile spreads across his lips. His skin blinks. His skin begins to wither. His eyes become sunken pits in their sockets. He stands before you as a mummy and raises his arms as he comes towards you to attack. If you have Energy Blast, turn to 170. If you have Super Strength, turn to 109. Otherwise, turn to 61. Okay, there he is. Okay, so we have Super Strength and we're turning to 109. Okay, for all your strength, you will not be able to defeat the mummy. Instead, when you have reduced it to 4 stamina points, you may use your strength to hurl it into an open crate and seal the lid. You may capture it, but not kill it. Resolve your battle. Mummy, skill 10, stamina 10. If you manage to trap the creature, turn to 2. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so we've got a mummy. And his skill is 10 and stamina 10. Okay. Don't know why I did all that. Anyway, sort of using control paste just to write 10, or just to type 10, I should say. Anyway, so let's do this. Okay, let's get a decent thing out. Okay, so rolling for him first. This is 10 plus 7, which is 17. I get 21 because my skill is 13. So 17 to 21. Yep. Okay, puts him down to 8. Okay, next. 10 plus 9 is 19. I get 19. So 19 to 19. So equal. Okay, 10 plus 8 is 18. I get 20. So 18 to 20. Puts him down to 6. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, another one. Okay, 10 plus 5 is 15. I get 19. So 15 to 19. Puts him down to 4. That's the end of the battle, but I'll just write 15 to 19, of course. 19, there we go. Okay, so that's the end of that. The mummy has been captured. That's that. Let's turn to 2. Okay, you managed to seal the lid on the crate, thus trapping the creature that was Mustafa Kareem. Kareem's jacket fell off the mummy's shoulders as you hurled it into the crate and now lies on the ground. You pick it up and rummage through the pockets. You find 2 pieces of paper inside. One bears the emblem of F.E.A.R and you unfold it quickly. The bottom half of the paper is ripped off, but the message reads, "Meeting in Executive Jet." Okay, so let's write that down. That's a clue. So, meeting in Executive Jet. There we go. The second piece of paper is a scribbled note which simply reads crate. It doesn't say it reads because it's a bit of paper. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks, I can't remember, a month ago or something, someone left a comment on one of my videos saying, "Oh, do you consider yourself an intellectual? I'm not as clever as what I think I am," or something like that, something obnoxious like that. And I did delete the comment because I thought it was just obnoxious. But to answer that question, no, I don't consider myself an intellectual, a real intellectual or a faux intellectual. I'm just a pedant and I just have OCD. So when I see something that's wrong, or something in my opinion that's wrong, I have to correct it. So that's just how I am. If you have a problem with that, feel free not to watch the video. No one is forcing you to watch it. I don't care. Feel free to dislike the video. Doesn't affect me in the slightest little bit. I don't get any money from this. This is purely for my own pleasure, if you can call it that. Okay, so feel free to dislike the video. Don't watch the video. Don't care. If you want to watch these videos, then you're going to have to put up with me being a pedant like that. So that's the end of that. Anyway, so the second piece of paper is a scribbled note which simply reads crate, followed by an Egyptian hieroglyphic character. You check the crates in the room. One bears a symbol identical to that on the note. Inside are a number of pieces of gold jewellery which match those on the main exhibit. Kareem had been stealing these and replacing them with imitations. Having now exposed the fraud, you may hand the affair over to the police. Award yourself 4 hero points and turn to 276. Okay, so 4 hero points. That puts us up to 9. And we're now turning to 276. Let's go. Where to now? You may want to visit the Titans Central Library to do some research in their criminology section, turn to 242, or you could go to visit Jerry the Grass, turn to 38. Okay, we're going to go to the library and turn to 242. Here we are. A huge crowd has gathered round Titan City Library. The police are struggling to keep them away from the building to allow both the army and the fire brigade to get closer. What is happening? Your question is answered when a third floor window smashes. The smash is followed by screams as two bodies come hurtling out of the broken window, followed by a huge bookshelf. Books and glass rain down on the terrified crowds. Inside you can hear a roar which chills you to the bone. The police chief is glad to see you. We need help, Crusader, he pleads. Some sort of creature is inside there. They've called it the Devastator. Looks like something not of this earth. A huge brute. I'd say it's made from rock. You rush into the building and find the creature on the third floor. Your jaw drops. Indeed, it does seem to be made from rock rather than living flesh, and it stands some 12 feet high. Something has enraged it, and it is destroying everything in sight. Pushing over huge shelves of books and smashing tables and chairs. Pushing over shelves of books and smashing tables and chairs. If you have super strength, turn to 378. If you have ETS, turn to 421. If you have psi powers, turn to 192. If you have energy blast, turn to 363. If you don't think you can handle this creature, you can leave by turning to 319. There he is. Okay, now we are going to choose we don't think we can handle this creature, and we're going to leave by turning to 319. Let's go. So goodbye, Devastator. Okay, so that's a good weapon on Duke Nukem. Anyway, you had better avoid blah blah blah. Right, blah. You had better avoid any more super exploits for a while. Do you want to pay a visit to your elderly aunt's house? Turn to 134, or would you go downtown to police headquarters to check that you are not required for any other duties? Turn to 245. Okay, we're going to head downtown and turn to 245. Lieutenant Wojak shakes your hand enthusiastically as you enter police headquarters. Crusader, hi, good to see you. Come into my office. He tells you that, apart from the usual muggings, break-ins, and auto thefts, he has just had some disturbing news. There has been a well-organised jailbreak at Woodworm Scrubs. The high-security prison. Yeah, there's a prison in northwest London called Wormwood Scrubs, HMP. Wormwood Scrubs, and he's Steve Jackson has sort of done a spoonerism there and called it Woodworm Scrubs. That's quite funny. Anyway, a jailbreak at Woodworm Scrubs, the high security prison. Marcus Belletta, who was serving a 14-year sentence, climbed over the wall with a rope ladder and escaped in a waiting van disguised as an ambulance. Also, Central Hospital has just reported a strange admission. Someone named Winston Woods, whose head and hands are rough and hairy like those of a great ape. Do you wish to investigate... Do you wish to investigate the strange case at the hospital? Turn to 190. Will you go shopping? Turn to 94. Or will you tell the police to keep you informed and go to visit your aunt? Turn to 134. Okay, we are going to investigate the strange case at the hospital and turn to 190. Okay, you arrive at Central Hospital and ask at the desk about the strange admission. You are regarded suspiciously, and one nurse, turning her nose up, says, "Why do you want to know? Are you one of those gutter press reporters?" You show her the emblem on the chest of your costume, but she is unimpressed. Finally, a police officer fills you in. "Yeah, I know for whom you're looking, Crusader. Something strange going on there if you ask me, but the guy died an hour ago. He's gone down to the morgue. There's not much more you can do here. Would you leave and head for your aunt's, turn to 134, or do you want to check the morgue anyway, turn to 395? We're going to check the morgue anyway and turn to 395. An obliging attendant is happy to show you the body of the mysterious man. He looks up a file and reaches for the handle on a cadaver drawer. His eyes open wide as he pulls the drawer out. It is empty. He double-checks the number and shakes his head. "I can't understand it," he says. "I put him in here myself, and I've been here all the time except for my coffee break. The trail ends here. There are no clues as to the whereabouts of the missing body. You can leave the hospital by turning to 226. Off we go then. Where will you head? For where will you head now? If you wish to make that visit to your aunt, turn to 134. If you prefer to go downtown to see if you can get tickets for a special concert that Georgie Boy and the Vulture Club are giving, turn to 122. Yeah, obviously it's Boy George and Culture Club. Never been a fan personally, but it's a funny spoonerism anyway. Sort of a spoonerism anyway. Georgie Boy and the Vulture Club. Interestingly, speaking of prisons, woodworm scrubs, quote unquote, or wormwood scrubs, really. Boy George was actually in prison once, HMP High Point, for I don't really know. Was it drug possession or assault or something? I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, he was in prison, Boy George, or George O'Dowd, I think is his real name. Anyway, 122. Okay. Crowds of disappointed fans are milling around Addison Square Gardens. Tonight's concert has been cancelled. Georgie Boy is suffering from facial dermatitis. You decide instead to go home and rest. You may add 6 stamina points for the evening's rest. Next morning, you do not have to go to work. Would you go instead to 7th Avenue to watch the arrival of the President, who is paying a visit to Titan City, 10 to 21, or would you rather go to Wells Court? Is that a pun on Earl's Court? I don't know. I don't know what Earl's Court is, to be honest, but it sounds like it should be a pun. Or would you rather go to Wells Court, where a special exhibition of home appliances of the future is opening, 10 to 425? Okay, the crowds are gathering to get into the exhibition, and a huge banner proclaims Appliances of the Future. See tomorrow's home technology today. As you wander through the exhibitions, there are many excited voices enthusing over the more ambitious gadgets on show. I have to say this, I'm sorry. Verbs like infuse and intuit are very interesting, and that's because they're verbs that came from the nouns. Now, if you consider a noun like, for example, I don't know, speculation, that noun came from the verb to speculate, so it's like the act of speculating. So speculation is the act of speculating. And one would be forgiven for thinking that enthusiasm and intuition are the same sort of situation. They came from the verbs infuse and intuit, respectively. But apparently they didn't. Infuse and intuit, they're verbs that were sort of constructed from the nouns. So the nouns came first. And because of that, there are some people who think that that infuse and intuit, for example. There are other examples, I can't remember any of them right now, but infuse and intuit, for example, they're not proper verbs because, you know, they're sort of made up from nouns. Part of me agrees with that, but they are sort of useful verbs because instead of having to say I'm enthusiastic about the more ambitious gadgets on show, I could just say I'm enthusing over them or whatever. Or instead of saying I have intuition about something, you can just say I'm intuiting that. So they are sort of useful, but I do get their point that they are sort of made up. Because they were recently made. I think they were, only like made in the 20th century or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, they are interesting verbs like that, but that's just how it is. Anyway, the clothing service station, for example, is a machine which takes in dirty washing and cleans, dries and irons it ready to wear. A cocktail composer puts together all the ingredients of a cocktail. The perfect opponent is a games playing computer which can learn the rules of any game and will play at 8 different levels of skill. Well, loads of video games can do that now. Robots are there in many forms. A tidy maid remembers where everything goes in a room and will replace everything in its proper position. On a large stand, a man with round glasses and a loud voice is demonstrating his firm's tireless butler, a man-sized android which will do many home chores. You stare at him. His face looks familiar, but you can't quite place him. The android passes him a cigarette as he is bending down, but catches his hair and moves it slightly. A wig, of course. With a bald head, his identity is obvious, although he is not easy to recognise without the cybernetic enhancers he wears on his arms and his distinctive and very dangerous eye goggles. It most certainly is Vladimir Utoshki, head of F.E.A.R. You quickly nip away to change into the Silver Crusader and return to capture the villain, but he is quick. He sees you coming, flicks a switch at the back of the android and darts off into the crowd. A whirring sound comes from the android. It turns towards a man studying its arm and smashes him across the face with a powerful blow. Screams break out and the android goes berserk, charging into the crowd, arms flailing. Will you pursue Utoshki, turn to 387, or is your first duty to save the visitors from the mad android, turn to 62? There we go. So, yeah, he's Utoshki is obviously Japanese because he looks Japanese there. Looks Oriental. I'm not entirely keen on the butler, though. He's wearing hot pants. If I had that butler, he'd have to wear normal trousers and not a waistcoat. He'd have to wear sort of like a sleeved jacket. Not hot pants, but that's just me. Anyway, so that's that. He looks sort of menacing there. Looks like a bit of a wig as well. Anyway, what are we going to do? We are going to, well, our first duty is to save the visitors from the mad android. So we are going to turn to 62. Here we go. The scene is one of mayhem. Injured people lie on the ground around the stand and others are panicking, trying to get away from the dangerous machine. If you have ETS, turn to 186. If you have super strength, turn to 116. If you have psi powers, turn to 282. If you have energy blast, turn to 304. Okay, so obviously we have super strength, so we're turning to 116. Let's go. Now, someone did ask me, they left a comment asking, do I have to read out the paragraph option numbers every time? Really sorry, but I do. It's part of my OCD. I have to read everything. I'm really sorry. You just have to put up with it. I'm going to read all the numbers. You fly into the air over the android, grab it, and hoist it up out of harm's way into the roof of the building. Finding a clear spot, you release it. It crashes down to the ground and fizzles. Its broken limbs twitching harmlessly. You search for Vladimir Utoshki from your vantage point, but can see no sign of him and return to the stand. No one is now manning the stand, and you start rummaging through Utoshki's papers to see if you can find any clues. Only one piece of paper looks interesting. It is from the Parker Airport Authority, advising him that his booking requirements have been made. You also find a small pen-like gadget in a box labelled Circuit Jammer. You decide it could be quite useful and take it with you. Add 4 hero points for defeating the android. Your job done here. You leave Wells Court, 10 to 75. Okay. Okay, so we have another clue. Parker Airport. So that's another thing about the meeting. Parker Airport. And we also get the Circuit Jammer. So, Circuit Jammer. There we go. Whoops. Don't want a full stop, want a comma. Okay, so we're now going to 75. Here we are. Oh, you've got the 4 hero points as well, don't we? 13. But some of you were screaming at the screen there, like, don't forget the hero points. And don't forget which paragraph I'm going to, which is 75. I was aware I could forget that, so I made sure to remember it. You remember that the president is coming to Titan City today. Do you want to go down to 7th Avenue to watch the presidential cavalcade? I'm not familiar with that word. If so, turn to 21. If you would rather not, you can go to watch your favourite football team, the Titan Tigers, play the Metro Mohawks instead. Turn to 114. Okay, we're going to go to 7th Avenue to watch the presidential cavalcade, whatever, 21. The citizens of Titan City have turned out in their thousands to greet the president. They line both sides of 7th Avenue 6 deep, and the presidential car is still not due to arrive for half an hour. Spirits are high. There is much flag waving and hands are playing Bands. There is much flag waving and bands are playing in the street as a prelude to the arrival. Will you spend the next half hour in a coffee bar waiting for the main procession to arrive, turn to 100, or will you find a place in the crowd which offers a decent view, turn to 7? Okay, we are going to decide that in the next video. So we're on paragraph 21. Next paragraph 21. And in the next video, I will decide whether I'm going to wait in a coffee bar or I'm going to find a place in the crowd. So thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed today's part and see you in the next part. Goodbye.